to Coach Steve Academy. This is Suellio Almeida. We're going to see my lap with the Porsche Cup at Le Mans. We're going to see the entire lap, and then we're going to talk about corner by corner. Okay, so in this very first corner, first thing you should worry about is opening up as much as you can, because you cannot do this little kink flat before the actual braking zone. So what we're going to do is actually open up. You can use this, our area here right before the dirt. The dirt is where you should worry about. And then you turn in a little bit earlier, getting a little bit of this inside here, and then starting to brake slowly. Why do we brake slowly here? It's because we are doing a corner before we start the braking. So we're transitioning. It's like an inverted string theory, right? You're coming back from turning into braking. So if you're here and then you like straighten the wheel very fast and start braking, it's not going to work, because there's a time, a reaction until the car balances 50-50. So it's better to start braking slowly as you unwind slowly to make sure you settle the balance perfectly and make that transition in the traction circle to keep the car on the limit while braking without locking the front tires. As you can see, very, very progressive. A little bit bouncy with the steering here. That's just my direct drive because I am with my hands relaxed, and as soon as it kind of like hits the curb a little bit, you end up shaking a little bit. If you try to fight that, that's the problem. Actually, if you try to fight the steering wanting to vibrate a little bit, that's when you even lock more the front tire. So just a little bit relaxed with the hands as I'm starting to brake more and more and more, and then downshifting to second here, opening up as much as I can, and then turning in, actually aiming for this little dirt even here. This very first apex, you can actually cut a lot. You cannot cut the second one though. So this one here, if you have the center of the car on the green, you end up getting an off track. So be careful. And also there's a slowdown here. So this is pretty much the limit. If you go just a little bit more than that, you actually get a slowdown. Not an off track, you get a slowdown, which is even worse. Now we're going for this next corner here. All flat to the right. And then brake. And then down to third, using the engine braking and the trail braking to make the car turn as much as you can. And then here, there's a lot of grip, actually, so you can get back on power always a little bit earlier than you think. So get back on power, and the car is going to stay glued to the track. And then you change direction, still flat. Actually, I did a tiny bit of a lift because I turned in a little bit too late. You can actually turn in a little bit earlier and almost get, like, collide with this bollard here. It's actually not collidable. So you're going to just go through it and nothing is going to happen. So you can pretty much just change direction a little bit earlier. You see, actually, I had to lift because I turned in a little bit too late. But it was like a 5% lift. So it's pretty much flat. And then as soon as you land here, just make sure you're relaxed. Again, relax your hands because you need the wheel to comply with the track as soon as it bounces back. Because if you're forcing the car a little bit too much to the right here, as soon as it lands from the curb, you actually lose the rear. As you can see, using all the track here on the exit, then downshift to fourth, a little bit of braking, and then already turning in, aiming to have almost half of the car on the blue, but not half, because if you have the center line of the car on top of the blue, you get a slow down, so be careful with that. And then on the outside here, just make sure you don't have all four tires to the left of the white line. As you can see, actually, I left a little bit too much space here, probably 2-3 tires width that I could have used more. So I could have gotten back on power a little bit more aggressively here. Here, I'm going to brake at this access road here pretty much. When you see this yellow bit of the wall, that's where I'm starting to brake. And then you want to have half of the car on top of this curb here, of the right edge of this curb. And then I'll shift to second, change direction aggressively, and try to have half of the car on the left edge. Always half of the car on the inside edge of these curbs. If you have half of the car on the tarmac on the inside, that's the slowdown. So be careful with that. And then change of direction. On this one here, you can actually have more than half of the car without getting an actual slowdown, so that's fine. And then for the next corner, it's pretty much the same thing. We're going to brake a little bit before the 100, and then we're going to turn in half of the car right here, and then second, and then half of the car here. Get back on power aggressively and use all the exit. On the exit, you can use more than half of the car on the inside. That will guarantee that you get the best exit possible because these straights are long. And then right here, kind of like going as close as possible to the cone, changing direction, not changing direction, starting to turn in, and then starting to brake a little bit slowly because we are turning in. Remember, if we're turning in, we cannot brake too fast. I'm starting to kind of like squeeze the brakes, and then here as straight as possible, almost aiming towards the cone, and then you're just very close to the cone. And that's my turning point here, aiming for this bollard. Just make sure you don't actually hit the bollard because that will give you a slowdown. So get back on power as early as possible. There's a super long straight again after this one. And then right here, we're going to use this green here as a reference. Light braking here, and then brake again for Indy. And then downshift to second if you want more rotation. But if you got enough rotation, stay on third. It's simpler. And then you kind of smash the power on third gear and let the car run all the way to outside. If you're going to hit this dirt here, don't turn the steering back to the left, let it run a little bit wider because otherwise you can spin very quickly here. Then for this one, braking to second gear. If you need more rotation desperately, you can try using first gear, but second gear is enough. And then kind of like aggressive on power here. Of course, careful with the steering, so you want to get a bit more rotation on entry. So when you accelerate, the car is a little bit straighter, and you don't have to worry too much with wheel spin on exit. And then right here, we're going to use this green as a braking reference, and then turning in, kind of like trail braking heavily. As you can see, lots of trail braking to keep the car rotating. And then back on power, kind of aggressively. There's a lot of grip here. And then change direction, a little bit of a lift. I actually missed this one. You can see I changed direction a little bit too late. Ended up missing the apex here, but used all the track on the exit. And then a tiny bit trail brake here, back on power. And then this one, we're almost going to double apex it. So we're actually turning in early here. You can see I'm using this white line. And then I'm just let it go wide, and then I try to come back to the second apex here. And then I'm going to change direction, try to hit this yellow here. It's kind of difficult to actually hit this yellow. And then on the outside here, just make sure you don't have all 4 tires to the right of the white line, because that will give you a slowdown. And then right here, half of the car on this dotted line, and then starting to brake halfway between the beginning of the dotted line and the end of it. And then turning in a little bit early, still trail braking. I actually gave a little bit too much space here. You can actually hit this white and red thing with the inside tires. You will only get a slowdown if you hit more of it. If you get like half of the car on these yellow 3 yellow curbs, that will give you a slowdown. So as you can see here, I did hit, you see a little bit with the inside tires and nothing happened. So this is the best reference actually. If you can just barely hit them, that means you're using the track very well. And then here, you can even aim to bring the car a little bit more and actually barely touch this curb right before. I ended up going a little bit wide and did not have enough time to come back. And then as soon as I realized the corner was already there, I changed direction and tried to cut as much as I can on this one. And then also change direction and cut as much as you can on this one. Of course, light hands as soon as you land from the sausage curb, because you might get a snap. So just relaxed hands and then let the force feedback work to comply the tires, and then aggressive on the power and let the car use all the green. And there you go. That's a lap. Hope you guys have fun racing here. Lots of drafts this week. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.